All right, so I think I'm maxed out here.
I mean, I hope we are out there on Mars and maybe beyond Mars, the moons of Jupiter. I hope we're traveling frequently throughout the solar system, perhaps preparing for missions to nearby star systems, and I think that would be very exciting to do that.
Essentially, just memories flowing from afar like a planetary charge raining down from the stars. It's a simple life on Mars with a lot of time to hesitate. It's easier to meditate outside of this conglomerate. Found a letter in a monolith for a paleontologist, and suddenly was standing in a rather strange aquarium. And wondering just where we'd been before we were American, it whispered in the air within, "We'll be right back there again."
This poem is it's an older poem. It's like from I think like 2013 or so. And it was like the first time I really was like I had discovered this kind of psychedelic style. Like I had discovered this kind of psychedelic style. Psychedelic style. Perception's fabric and exact strangeness. A deeper curl into question. Crash into furniture. Who am I? Who am I?
Essentially, just memories flowing from afar like a planetary charge raining down from the stars. It's a simple life on Mars with a lot of time to meditate. It's easier to levitate outside of this conglomerate. Found a letter in a monolith for a paleontologist, and suddenly was standing in a rather strange aquarium. And wondering just where we'd been before we were American, it whispered in the air within, "We'll be right back there again." How's it, pretty much?
A foolish pleasure, whatever.
That if you'd ask people, say in 1900, what are the odds of man landing on the moon, they would have said that's ridiculous. And if you try to talk to them about the internet, they would not even know what the heck what are you even talking about? Like, this sounds so crazy.
I ran out of breath on one of those lines.
No, that was fantastic. But let's go into the last couple of lines, if you don't mind my taking over a little bit, Matt. I'm just kind of curious.
No, go for it. Go for it.
When you talk about here we are to be American again, right?
Yeah.
And wondering just where we'd been before we were American. It whispered in the air within, "We will be right back there again." Talk about those lines a little bit. I'd love to get some insight because those are really profound.
Yeah, I kind of meant it as like a general, like what is our soul, like what is our being, like beyond this life. I've had too many strange experiences of other dimensions and like just weird trips that I like.
Yeah, well, to go through your
pretty
poem,
convinced that there's more to existence than just what meets the eye and the base reality that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so just kind of wondering about what life is, the whole purpose of like where we come from, where our souls originate from, in a certain sense.
And how do you see it being American, like falling into all that? Like, why would you?
I just see that as like where we are right now. Like I'm sitting here in America, this this person born into this country. This is where I live. This is like my whole framework of my life right now. But it's such a, I don't know if sheltered framework. I just feel like maybe sheltered is the right word, of like whatever consumer kind of culture, like materialistic place that this world, I mean, that's not just America, but like the modern world is, in a certain sense. Like it's pretty easy to like lose sight of
Yeah, because there's almost like a imperialistic, you're on Mars and it's all American kind of thing. Like, was that your intention, or just sort of like, I don't know. In other words, I don't necessarily see that bad. We go colonize Mars. I don't think that's the end of the world, but like, do you look at it that way? Do you see colonizing Mars and everything? Was that part of your, or do you see that as more of a patriotic thing? Like, yeah, like we are.
I mean, yeah, it could be like literally, like obviously we have the potential to maybe set a colony on Mars, but more thinking of it in just like being in another planet, being in outer space, like outside of this life, really. Like,
yeah, you just thought about the innocent standard. Like, you didn't really think
like
about
traveling through the cosmos.
You weren't trying to make a political statement. You were just like putting those words in.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely realize, like, anytime you say the word American, like, that's pretty politically charged. And people, like, it definitely goes there. Like, it's gonna bring it into the thoughts of, like, what does that mean? Like,
well, if you look at my channel, you know I don't frown on that. I love America. I'm not.
Oh yeah.
What you try to say, huh?
But I was just curious because I do respect both sides of the aisle, and I just I don't know. Those lines could be interpreted different ways by different people.
You seem like a very reasonable person. Censorship, by the way. Respect.
Yeah. Oh no, and I definitely don't want to. I sometimes maybe even like saying what I meant with it isn't necessarily that important, because like a poem is a poem. Is like whatever it means to whoever reads it is 100% valid, because I feel like some of the things, like sometimes you write something and you don't even fully know what it means until you like look at it later, and then it means something else to you. So like my intentions of like what I was necessarily thinking of when I wrote it down or thought of it or came on the page, whatever happened, like doesn't necessarily even matter.
You know what? It actually brought to mind is Satorid will like this. Terrence McKenna has this kind of talk where he says culture is not your friend.
Yeah,
and I feel like to reference America or to say what were we before we were American.
Exactly what I meant. That's exactly what I meant.
Yeah, it just seems like an impulse to transcend the current cultural kind of framework of saying like, like we're brains. We have phenomenal experience. There's kind of a universality through all kind of nations, not necessarily like a globalist framework, but just like something before nationality, something before culture.
Absolutely, and we'll be right back there.
Yeah, yeah. Removing the framework of culture is like that's perfect. That's a way more eloquent way of saying exactly what I meant.
That actually summarizes it very well for me when I read it now like that. Yeah, that totally makes sense.
That's how I read it as well, as it's pulling us out of that framework. When he says, then we'll go back to before we were American, the whisper within the air. That's like the letter that is in that Monolith. And for me, as someone who's taken psychedelics a lot, that's like a message you get a lot. This whole, not only just human files of information that you get from past, present, and future, but also all of life, like that connection to that monolith and this like inner path to outer truths kind of thing that happens, that even though you're like, you go so far deep inside yourself that it reflects Mars and the rotations of the planets and everything that it goes, and there's this like through line of everything, that the chaos and the swirls within your own emotions mirror the chaos and the swirls of the rotations of the planets. That's something I get a lot, and I feel that in this.
Definitely, I really like that.
Sweet.
Hey, is it Mac Vaught or Mac Vaught?
Yes, it is the vote. Vote for vote.
Mac Vote. Okay,
yes.
Mac Vote.
Yes.
I would love to hear you read this.
Essentially, just memories flowing from afar. like a planetary charge, raining down from the stars. It's a simple life on Mars with a lot of time to meditate. Gets easier to levitate outside of this conglomerate. Found a letter and a monolith for a paleontologist, then suddenly was standing in a rather strange aquarium and wondering just where we'd been before we were American. It whispered in the air within. We will be right back there again. We will be right back there again.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
You love that? Was that fantastic?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, you definitely like the way you slowed it down and really your voice behind each word is awesome. I mean, I don't know how else to put it.
It feels
really
weird
cool.
taking credit for that because it's your poem, you know?
Hey,
it's great to read, man. All of your stuff,
Jimi
all of your
Hendrix
stuff I
sang
read.
All Along the Watchtower better than Bob Dylan ever did.
Jim, I think that's a Jimi Hendrix song. That's Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man,
Well,
you know
Bob,
though, but Pluto, I read all of your poems out loud because I feel like I don't do them justice until I read them out loud. I actually feel like
I
cannot
didn't mean to
connect
compare
with them.
myself to Bob Dylan, but you definitely deserve the Jimi Hendrix. That's for sure.
Yeah. Cool, man. Does anybody else want to read? Chris, by the way, I did not welcome you. Chris, thank you for being here, man. Chris Dogood.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Been
dude.
enjoying all the poetry. I don't have anything to read, so I'm
Ah.
kind of listening. Thanks.
Oh,
Yeah. It's all
Hey
right.
guys,
it's all good.
Maybe next time.
It's good to
I was
have you.
just gonna
Thanks for
say
having me
really
anyway.
quick, but I just wanted to say really quick that I sent like almost everybody who spoke tonight like a bunch of tokens. So A, I thank you all very much for having done that. And B, I'm gonna go a step further, and over the next couple of days, anybody I send tokens to, I'll put out like one by one little like post to say, hey, go subscribe to Pluto. You know what I mean?
Dude,
Like,
that's
shit like
so
that.
that's really generous of you, and I gotta thank you, Censorship, for coming in because you know, you said you weren't a poet, but the way you engage poetry, I'm pretty sure you're a poet. Like,
Well, you know, I enjoy literature, sure.
yeah, definitely, man. Well, you know, you don't have to write it. You know, there's you know, readers are just as much as poets as writers. I truly believe that. I think a poem is just text without a reader. And you're an excellent reader, and thank you so much for coming in to this gathering tonight. I think usually we wrap it up at 10, 2.5 hours, or 2 hours and 15 minutes is usually enough time. And I think unless anybody else has something to read, thank you everybody for coming. I had a really good time. I'm really honored that you guys would come. I think this is a really good thing that we got going on. And yeah, I guess we'll see. We'll see you next week.
Weekly thing, or yeah, it's a weekly.
Yes, it's a weekly thing every night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
It's an
Sounds
amazing
fantastic.
weekly thing, and you need to keep it going.
Yes, we do.
Keep up the great work. It's awesome.
Cool. I will look forward to coming back next week. And damn, dude, it's nice to meet you. I feel like I've met a friend tonight.
Definitely, man. Yeah, dude. Seriously, thanks
Cool.
for coming in, and
Awesome.
for everybody who came in. You know, I think we got some really good work done, and I think, man, you know, it takes some time to warm up, but when it comes down to it, I think poems are such a good foundation for a good conversation.